IITP, ISTE Delhi section, and IETE Delhi Center as technical collaborators welcomes you all to the IEEE IETE BVI CAM technical lecture series on technology transfer from laboratory to marketplace. With immense pride and honor, we are delighted to announce that we, with united hands, mark special contribution for the monumental occasion, Golden Jubilee celebrations of the IEEE Delhi section. From 13th May 2025 to 12th May 2026, we mark 50 years of this vibrant and pioneering section, a journey that began in 1976 and has since shaped the technological and professional landscape of Northern India through innovation, collaboration, and learning. This webinar is an initiative to celebrate this legacy. According to Bill Gates, the advance of technology is based on making it fit in so that you don't really even notice it, so it's part of everyday life. All technology breakthroughs start with a spark, but only a few make it to the real world. In the session today, we'll explore the journey of taking technology from lab to research to marketplace, creating impact in the real world. This is not just for building startups, but for leading breakthrough projects, understanding the real problems, and a structured approach for bringing ideas to life. I would first take this opportunity to welcome amongst us our distinguished panelists for the day. We are privileged to have amongst us a galaxy of experts. I would first welcome Professor M.N. Huda sir, Director, Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Applications and Management, BVI CAM, and Chairperson, IEEE Delhi section, to address the participants with his inspiring words. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
That's great. So good evening, one and all. At the outset, let me take this opportunity to welcome my valued speaker today, Malshri Gupta, Associate Director, Nagaro, for having spared her valuable time and being with all of us to share his experience on such an innovative topic, which will drive at least academia also for next 50 years, and which becomes the hallmark of any of the organization. And the topic is technology transfer from laboratory to marketplace. Dear friends, I also would like to take opportunity to welcome all my other friends who from various technical societies of IEEE and other sister concerned society. I have Mr. Ajay here, who has been a backbone of all my programs since May 2020. Thank you so much, Mr. Ajay. And all other participants, I could see many of them are among the attendees. You are most welcome here. Dear friends, this is 192nd episode of that webinar series, rather a knowledge dissemination technical lecture series, which was started in the backdrop of COVID-19 in May 2020, with a purpose to keep people engaged for active and learning related sessions and remain active, do not go into a depression when the entire world was blank what to do now. And since May 2020, with continuity every Saturday evening, BVI CAM, IEEE, IET, CSI platform is privileged to host you all. On every occasion, one or other top-notch experts from the industry on any of the top topic or the trending topic we are organizing here for all of us. Friends, the recording of these sessions are also available on YouTube channel of BVI CAM, so that those who could not attend or attended but wanted to have a repeat watching, they can watch that and get information. Thank you so much. This particular year is a Golden Jubilee celebration year, as Dr. Ritika has rightly said, that from 13th of May 2025 till 12th of May 2026, we are celebrating Golden Jubilee. So this year we are almost concerned that every Saturday a topic which should be of use and topic which should be worth celebrating should be convened and organized, and that's what we are doing. In 2024, when IEEE US, the headquarter was trying to get information from all over the world that what kind of activities were started and which all activities are being organized in a sustainable manner, we also submitted our proposal. And after filtration process, they finally adjudicated that our Saturday evening webinar series is the best knowledge dissemination series in the entire world, which is being continued with sustainability, and we have been awarded for that. The credit of that goes to all my speakers, my back-end support team member, Mr. Ajay, and of course the back-end team member from my institution, headed by Dr. Ritika and everyone who is at the back-end. Thank you so much. Friends, this today's topic, technology transfer. Let me sensitize and tell you that there has been a time when people started talking that publish paper, publish paper, publish paper. So people started publishing paper in conferences. Then there have been a time that people started saying no more conferences, now publish paper in journal, and people started publishing paper in journal. And you'll be happy to note that fortunately I had started a conference 19 years ago, and year after year that conference is being organized, and close to 1 lakh paper we have published in last 20 years. Then I started in 2009, that is 17 years ago, a journal. And the journal is to that level that from initial 20 papers being submitted to journal, the International Journal of Information Technology, the Springer Nature Singapore team themselves came and said to me that we are following the impact of your journal and we wanted to take over. I didn't allow the takeover, but I agreed to make Springer as a co-publishing partner, and the journal is from January 17 onwards, the journal is published by Springer Nature from Singapore. Journal is indexed, Scopus indexed, and is a Q1 journal, and the total revenue of the journal annual is crore to 8 crore. That's the kind of the impact which in the research community we have left. At this moment, the whole is that you should obtain a patent, and my own teaching teams have also obtained in last 1.5 years close to 50 patents. But my dear friends, let me tell you upfront that wait 5 years more. All these activities, all these initiatives will carry no meaning. How many papers you have in journal, how many papers you have in conferences, how many patents you have will carry no meaning. What will be carrying weight is which kind of technology or which research or which patent has been translated into a product or service into the market with which the people are getting benefited, and of course is also generating commercial revenue. For industry cannot survive if they are unable to transfer the technology and bring revenue out of that technology. Could be a technology in which you are not interested for revenue, but yes, you are interested to see that technology should see the shape, the light of the day, and should be used with the help of some product or service for the benefit of the people. So since last 3-4 years, I have started sensitizing to the people that changes are only permanent on this earth. Nothing else is permanent. Let's change our activities, our initiatives upfront. Otherwise, the changing ecosystem, and that too rapidly changing technological ecosystem, will make us irrelevant and will change us. And that's where I always keep saying that many of my participants are aware that इंसान घर बदलता है, लिबास बदलता है, रिश्ते बदलता है, दोस्त बदलता है, फिर भी परेशान क्यों रहता है? क्योंकि हम अपने आप को नहीं बदलते. And that is how the Ghalib from the same land Delhi said that उम्र भर गालिब यही भूल करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी और मैं आईना साफ करता रहा. My dear friends, people keep on meeting me and telling me that I have written 20 books. People keep on talking to me on day in day out basis. I have published 100 papers, 100 such papers. But when you ask to them that how many of your paper has been converted into some working product or service into the society, the next step will be the revenue. The first step is that do you have a connected product or service? Thereby I'm to say that have you transfer the technology and that technology is available for the people at large. And that is where the IEEE says that advancing technology for humanity. Us technology ka main kya karu? What should I do with that technology which is in the laboratory and is not being transferred for the benefit of the people at large? So this topic is very, very important because this topic is such topic which will rule the world for next 50 years. Whatever we are doing in a laboratory, whatever technology we are trying to propose with the help of a research paper, we must be capable of transferring that technology to the people and see to it that connected to that technology, either there is a product or there is a service. And the next step will be what is the commercial value. First, the societal value, the translational research is the new buzz of the day, buzzword of the day. So first, the translational value of that research. Second, connected to that translational research, if there is a product or service, are there takers for that? And the takers implies what is the commercial worth of that particular product or service. So today's session is basically to make us to understand that if we have a technology, how can we make that technology in such a manner that that technology can be transferred and the society should get benefited. And that is why I keep on saying that after us, all of us have got limited time. When our time will be over and we will no more be in this world, the people will never remember us that which brand of specs I used to wear, which kind of watch I used to wear, which brand cloth I have been using, or otherwise how nicely and superbly I used to speak. That will all these will not be the parameters to get inspired. What will be the parameter to get inspired? That behind us, what footstep, what inspiration we have left for the others to follow, for the peer professionals to follow. So after us, we must leave something. And if you have been successful in transferring a technology, that probably first will be to the help of the people, to the benefit of the people. That what is IEEE USP is that advancing technology for humanity. And the second will be that many people will get inspired with that, and many people will follow your footstep and may come up with the technologies which can be of benefit to the people at large. So during COVID too, when many of our near and dear passed away and could not sustain the challenges which COVID posed forward, I wrote 4 panthis, which of course is to remind us that how and in which way we should start planning our life. And that is where I have written that kal na hum honge na koi gila hoga. गिला कहते हैं शिकवे शिकायत को, आपस की खट्टी मीठी यादों को, कि कल न हम होंगे न कोई गिला होगा, बस सिमटी हुई खट्टी मीठी यादों का एक सिलसिला होगा. जो भी वक्त मिला है आओ अच्छा कुछ कर गुजरे, जाने कल तकदीर का क्या फैसला होगा. ये सारा नॉलेज डिसेमिनेशन सेशन जिसके पीछे मेरी बैक एंड टीम और मेरे सारे रिसोर्सेस लगाए जा रहे हैं, इसका सिर्फ एक ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि this should inspire some or other participants on daily basis, every webinar basis. If you are inspired and start doing something, that probably the huge hard work and the manpower and the technical resources being used for these webinars will be considered as successful. So let's participate in a big way. Let's ensure that how can we touch the life of the people on this planet Earth? How can we improvise the life of the people with the help of the technology? All of us have got immense idea. Can we convert that idea into some technology? Can we take help of people? Can we collaborate and see to it that we can transfer them and make them, with the help of that technology, make the life of the people better and better on this planet Earth. Thank you so much for joining us. Many of other sessions have already been notified. If you have not registered as on date, do register, because that will help you to understand that what activities we are doing, and probably in some or other way that might inspire you to do better and better. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best. God bless you all. Over to you, Dr. Ritik.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the motivating words. With this, I would like to welcome among us our expert speaker, Ms. Molshi Gupta, ma'am, with an e-bouquet. Welcome to the session, ma'am.
Thank you, Ritika, ma'am. Thank you so much for the e-bouquet. and thank you for inviting me for this session. Thank you, Huda sir. Thank you, Ajay sir, for giving me the opportunity and getting me here to talk to all the attendees here and being able to share my thoughts on the
And
topic
this
technology
e-bouquet is
transfer.
also a presentation of our jazbat, our warmth and our thought. इसके लिए मैंने दो पंक्तियां लिखी थी कि ये बुके शायद ऐसा दिख रहा हो कि बुके ट्रांसफर नहीं हुआ, चूंकि इलेक्ट्रॉनिक बुके है। ये पूरा प्रोग्राम, पूरी टेक्निकल लेक्चर सीरीज 100% इलेक्ट्रॉनिक है, ताकि लोगों को फ्रॉम फार ऑफ प्लेसेस हम कनेक्ट कर सकें विदाउट बॉदरिंग अबाउट द लॉजिस्टिक्स, राइट? We could have sent this bouquet in advance, which could have been delivered to you right at the same time, but the purpose is different. The purpose is to pass on our warmth, जिसके लिए, और warmth को किसी बाउंड्री, किसी ज्योग्राफी, किसी डेमोग्राफी में अपने जज्बात को रोक नहीं सकते, कैद नहीं कर सकते, किसी डब्बे में भी नहीं कैद कर सकते और किसी प्रोटोकॉल में भी नहीं बांध सकते। तो इसके लिए मैंने पंक्तियां लिखी थी कि बड़ी मुश्किल में हूं, कैसे इजहार करूं, तू तो खुशबू है, कैसे गिरफ्तार करूं। तो ये खुशबू सिर्फ जहां से डॉक्टर रितिका शेयर कर रही हैं, या एम एन हुडा जहां से बातें कर रहे हैं, या फिर अजय जी जहां से देख रहे हैं, ये नहीं रुक सकती। ये मौलवी तक खुशबू पहुंच रही है, और ये खुशबू हमारे जज्बात की खुशबू है, हमारे एहसासात की खुशबू है, हमारे वामत की खुशबू है। थैंक यू सो मच।
Molshri Gupta ma'am is Associate Director at Nagaro. She has over 2 decades of experience in IT consulting and services industry. She is responsible for managing global clients, which involves stakeholder management, consulting, program delivery, roadmap development for growth alignment. She has worked with clients across the globe and successfully delivered solutions across technology stacks. She believes in an approach of people first and advocates simplified approaches. I am enlightened to welcome you today to this session, ma'am, and I would now request you to kindly enlighten the house.
Thank you, ma'am, once again. And such insightful, talks that Huda sir has already, touched upon, related to technology transfer, related to what would be the future like from writing papers to publishing books to actually the marketplace. I'll just try to share my thoughts and what I feel, how the industry and why we are assembled here and why we want to talk about it. So I'll share my screen and
Sure, ma'am.
let me know once you are able to see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to see the presentation as well?
I can see the screen, ma'am.
The lovely sight, the mountains. And
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
no.
ma'am.
Yes.
Now we can see the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So first thing, why are we discussing the technology transfer here? Why do we even want to talk about it? What is it that we would like to talk? The first things first, we all know about the macroeconomics, the current world situation, whatever Trump has talked about in the past couple of weeks. We also know about, all of us know about how India is progressing towards being a developed country. The Make in India initiative. We are all talking about how we want to be self-reliant. The government is taking a lot of interest and creating a lot of policies around it. For example, in the recent budget, there was tax relaxation for startups. Then our honorable PM Modi ji recently talked about having India's own consulting firms to counter the big four firms in the world, right? In the financial sector. So it is very important that while we are in the academic years, we are thinking about how what we are doing now will be helpful for the world and will be helpful for the society, and how it translates and maps. It's not just the academics, but it actually maps to the real world problem. So there are a few logos. I hope everybody recognizes these logos. These are well-known ones. And does anybody know what are the similarities between these? Why are these logos all put up on the same slide? So all these are just a few examples of companies that were created by the college students. So either the idea was conceptualized when they were in colleges, or they started the organization itself when they were in colleges. For example, VLC player. Everybody, at least my generation, we have used it quite a lot. And it was conceptualized initially to transfer videos in the campus network itself. Canva, we've been using it so much. Practo is something that everybody uses even today. It was created based on one of the personal experience of one of its founder, Mr. Shashank ND, who was a student at NIT in Karnataka at that point in time, when he needed medical expertise for his father's surgery, and he was not able to get that. So he created an online platform where there could be healthcare bookings, appointments, medical reports could be managed and so forth, and take it forward as Practo, which is a well-known platform. Zostel, very popular in the today's generation, right? It was founded by students of IIM Bangalore and IIT BHU, where they saw that there is a gap in backpackers when they plan a trip. They do not get a budget-friendly backpackers accommodation which meets their need. So what are all they? They are examples of solutions that were created while looking at the problem. And technology was the enabler to do those. All of them are technical solutions, but mapped to the real world problem that anybody or some segment of the world is facing, and then solving that problem for that segment of people. So while we talk about this, we used at least I used a couple of keywords like segment of people, solving a particular problem. We see a lot of things around us. There might be a lot of problems also that we see around us. Is every problem that we see around us, do we want to solve everything? Is everything that we talk about, is that something that we actually want to solve? Might be on an emotional ground, but on a practical ground, we might have to look at it differently. And we will go through what are the things and what are a structured way of doing these problem solving. And this does not mean that we only apply it when we have to build a startup. When we are in an organization and trying to solve a problem and create a solution, the same concepts apply at that point as well. So today, we will talk about, as part of the agenda, we will talk about why do we even talk about a marketplace? What does that mean? When we understand the concept of marketplace and why we are talking about a marketplace, we will then talk about what is the journey that we need to take an idea from a laboratory, to the market. Then what are the critical success factors that are required to take it to, or what actually are the critical things that you might want to consider. Then the last one, that is ensuring real world readiness, talks about what does the world actually looks at when we are solving a problem. What are the key traits a person or a group of people are required to have when we are trying to solve the problem. It is just about looking at it from a different perspective to also see that, okay, if these are the 5 things needed, are we all looking at those in the same light, or we want to look at differently and there might be some things more strong in one versus other. So we start with why marketplace. What exactly we talk about when we say marketplace? We say marketplace means anywhere where you want to sell something. Is that the only meaning of the marketplace? Marketplace might also mean an area where your product is or your service is sellable, right? When we talk about this, there is another question that comes to our mind is that when we are talking about what services we can offer to the world, what do we actually mean by the service? Are we talking about invention or are we talking about innovation? Are both of them similar, same, or there is a difference? I'll give you a quick example. When the radio waves were discovered by Mr. Hertz, and that is why Hertz is a unit of radio, right? Applications of radio waves. It was just invented, right? But then after quite many years, Mr. Marconi developed radio systems. So when radio waves were invented, they were not solving any real world problem. But when the radio systems were created or innovated, that is when they connected the invention to the real world problem. And that is when we say this is innovation. So there is a process of innovation which talks about 3 steps at a very high level. And at a very high level, the steps are creativity, invention, innovation. Now, how are all these 3 steps different from each other? Why do we say it is a step-by-step process? Generally, in a normal terminology, when we talk about, we just talk about saying that, oh, let's innovate. Let's start working on something. But what is the difference? What is the process? So when we say creativity is the first stage when we get curious about certain thing. Then we are just talking about, oh, probably this could be a solution. Probably this is a concept that we can solve. For example, if we see something that is not working right and we say, oh, maybe we can create something new and maybe an idea might work. For example, currently Modi ji is talking about, let's have a counter consulting firms. That is still in the idea stage. As the discussions will progress and there will be more plan put in place, how things have to be done. Then from creativity, it will move to invention stage. When we are at the invention stage, we are actually talking more about a tangible output. More than likely at this particular point in time, we are either putting, patents, or there are white papers written about the technology, or the idea is pretty much concrete. We have tried to crack it, that how things would work, how things would function. But one of the very key aspect is that there has to be a novelty in it. It has to be new. It has to be something new on top of existing or entirely new, either or. And once that invention is done, for example, the radio waves, right? The creativity was, can there be a transmission for that particular distance in a medium, right? Then invention was, okay, discovery of radio wave, how they would function, how things would work. Innovation is when we actually map the invention to the real world problem or real world solution, which would help the world in some way. It is tangible. It is something that can be achieved. It has a market fit. There is a requirement for it. It solves a problem or it enhances somebody's experience, life. It is actually adopted in the real world. And yes, in today's world, we also talk about it is commercializable. There is a need and somebody is ready to pay for it. There is a very small example as well, how post-its were created. So Spencer Silver, he was a chemist and he wanted to develop a very strong adhesive. While trying to do so, he was not able to create a strong adhesive, but he created a low tact adhesive. So he was still in the invention. That is still invention stage. That is, he's able to create an adhesive, but it is not working that well. And there was another person, Art Fry. He got hold of that adhesive and he had a problem that his bookmark from his hymn book, and he was a choir member at the church. The bookmark used to always fall off while he was at the church. So he had a problem to stick that bookmark. Now the bookmark cannot be stick to one single page all the time. He has to remove it and stick it again. And that adhesive really worked well for him. So now a invention is mapped to a real world problem. But that is a very specific problem, not to a bigger marketplace. So both of them came together and they looked at the problem, and that is how it was converted into post-it notes. And post-it notes then came as innovation, where the post-its can be peeled off and stick to a new surface and then peeled off again. So that it started with creativity as to somebody wanted to create a strong adhesive but did not turn out to be strong, but a low tack adhesive. Moved to invention when that was created, mapped to a real world problem, and then remapped to a bigger problem and a bigger solution that could help solve and help everybody in the market space. So now we understand invention and innovation. These are two different things, and one leads to the other after we find a market fit. As we move ahead, and our initial question was why are even we talking about the marketplace? What is it that is changing? Now, as Huda sir already mentioned, change is inevitable and change is something that will always be. That is what is happening with our marketplace as well. Earlier, there used to be the technology used to change only after a couple of years. Prior to that, even a decade. Now we are talking about technology changes after every couple of years. And now with AI, we're talking about technology updates in months. So we are talking about marketplace because the requirement is changing with a rapid change in the industry. With the rapid changes in the technology, we are seeing new market needs. We are looking at new requirements. Hence, what is impacting is the novelty. The newness in the solution is being impacted. Every time we have to come back to something new. We have to come back and say, okay, we need something new. And that new has to be very quick. A quick example is, earlier we used to have pedometers. I don't know how many of you know that there used to be pedometers. And after that, and pedometers lasted for very long. After that, there were fit bands that we used to wear on our wrist, and that used to record how many steps and all. Then came an era of smart watches. And the time frame for each of these have reduced. Now, smart watches haven't been obsolete, but we're already talking about smart rings. That you wear a smart ring, it captures all your vitals, your steps, everything, health parameters. So the wearables are becoming smaller, the technology is enhancing at a rapid pace, and hence the newness in the solution, which is very important for innovation, is needed. Then the next, we are talking also about emerging, what are the new technology, and hence the market need is changing. Sometimes the technology drives the market need. Earlier, we used to have in most of the organizations, we used to have servers, right? Server rooms used to be there, or there were dedicated data centers. Now there are no data centers in every room. There are cloud, centralized data centers, right? And now we are further moving ahead to edge computing, where The data is stored in the data center, but the computation is happening on your device. So it's a hybrid kind of a format. So everything is moving so fast. And with that, technology enhancements and advancements, the need of the market is also changing. Everything is required very quickly, like your delivery from the Blinkit. Earlier it used to be 20 minutes, now it's just 5 minutes. You just put up everything in your cart and things are delivered before even you say bye. As if the person is just standing at your doorstep, ready to deliver all what you need. So now the market needs are changing. Hence, we need to understand what exactly is the marketplace for the technology that we are talking about, for the solution that we're talking about, and we map it to that. We segment it and map it. We will further see how the steps work and how we in a structured way how we can take that forward. But yes, definitely invention is not innovation unless and until it aligns to the real world problem. And with the current scenario, not if it cannot be commercialized, because freebies are not looked at that level. If people are ready to pay for it, means that they actually need it and can adopt to those changes. All right, moving ahead. So the next is the journey, how we take the technology from lab to market. There are various steps in a structured manner that one needs to take. The first one, of course, is to understand what are the market dynamics. What is it that is required? There are a lot of organizations, pretty much many big companies that do this market research and user need analysis in different way. Apple focuses on behavioral research and target audience analysis quite a lot. While they're doing it, they actually look at what is the subconscious motivation. Not just the conscious motivation, but the subconscious motivation. What is your emotion while using the devices? Do you actually look at security more? Do you look at health concerns more? So when we talk about Apple features, you will see a lot of security and privacy enhancements and upgrades coming from Apple in terms of iOS upgrades and all, more than the feature upgrades. A lot of people, even when iPhone 17 was launched, a lot of people said that, oh, it's the same design, it's the same thing, they're not doing much on the body. But they actually know that a lot of their buyers are very concerned about privacy. They're very concerned about security. And that is why they're putting in effort to enhance that. So their way of user research is behavioral research. And then they do quantitative analysis on it, capture different emotions. Your phone captures your emotions while you're using it. And then analytics on top of that, and then taking it forward after customer segmentation. So that is one way of market research and understanding the user need. Basis the user requirement and what the user segment requires, and then taking it forward. What are the regulatories and compliances around it, so that you know what are the boundaries and in which you have to function and work. The next one is, once you understand the requirements and needs and also understand the boundaries in which you have to function, prototyping, and then taking feedback from that prototype. Most of the big organizations like Microsoft, Meta, Apple, everybody works on prototyping. There are a lot of programs also that Microsoft launches, primarily the Microsoft Insider program, under which the Microsoft 365 feedback is collected by the user. Microsoft Windows feedback is collected. There are beta releases by a lot of product companies where you get early access to a very limited group to see how the prototype is functioning, what kind of feedback is being generated. So which means when we are also talking about any technology, we talk to different user groups. In this case, you talk to your peers, you talk to different people around you in your neighborhood, you talk to different segments. For example, if you're thinking of a problem that you as a student are facing, talk to different students of different demographic, different streams, and then see if that solution or prototype that you've worked is actually solving the problem, is intuitive enough for them that the problem is being solved. Is it scalable? Is the security sufficient enough for? Once that is done and you feel that yes, the prototype is functioning well, it is something that most of your users are approving. Of course, there'll be feedback that you have to incorporate, but most of it has been implemented. Then we talk about multiple teams. So there are different teams which focus on certain modules, teams that are talking about specific development cycles, and then iterative development cycle where taking feedback each and every time. So it's like moving from prototype to MVPs, minimum viable products, where we have some features that are solving a problem, not to a high degree, but to some amount, and then identifying who is paying, how much are they paying, and what is the payment model. Now, somebody would come back and say, oh, if we are doing a startup or we're doing a business, then we need to worry about who pays, how much, and what is the model. For example, like me, if somebody is working in an IT firm, do they need to worry about it? Yes, of course, because whatever you're developing as an IT professional also, somebody will be using it. You might not be selling it directly, but if you understand why are they using that system, you will be able to add more value to that system, being able to solve that problem also better. Then the other aspect is strategic planning in terms of how we launch it to the market. Do you want to launch it to the entire globe together? Do you want to restrict it to a region? Do you want to categorically mention that, yes, this is only for specific segment of people, not for the entire audience, but only for some people? Also, while we are doing this, it is very important that we talk about legal compliances. It is in today's world, there are many cases, a lot of cases when we use some open sources while we are developing any new software or when we are developing any new technology solution. Important to understand what is the technical compliances. Is there a copyright? Is there a copyleft? Is it completely open source? Will using that solution make your code an open source solution? That means you will have to publish it and somebody else can use it as well. So ensuring that you're covered from all aspects. And again, this is not required just for your own product, but it is also required when you're working in IT industry as well. Because if, for example, you're given an assignment and you use an open source solution without telling anybody or without informing anybody, and that leads to a compliance breach, that might lead to a situation where you might have to remove that code or might have to get into a lengthier discussion with different teams. There could be legalities involved. And then once the product is created, once is created, put up in the market. For example, let's say Microsoft launched a new Windows version, or iOS gave you a new iOS version. Do they stop there? No. There is a continuous feedback and monitor. Continuously looking at now what? This was the initial need of the customer that we have identified. There was a security need that yes, we have all the data, all the privacy information masked. What next? So for example, Apple used to have Apple Wallet and used to have subscription services. Now, due to one of the security reasons, the subscriptions were cancelled. We couldn't have any subscription in the iOS. It was cancelled. And then with new upgrades and all, with new compliances from RBI as well, subscriptions were again enabled. So there is a continuous change in the market. There is a continuous change in the user behavior. You have to constantly monitor and see how the behavior is changing, what are the requirements, how they are changing, and take it forward. So we talked about all these steps or stages in a very short span. But when you look at it in depth, each of these, every step requires a lot of research. Every step requires a lot of detailing and a lot of taking mental notes, creating different mental models to be able to take these steps forward. Once we understand what are the steps to go from lab to marketplace, that is market analysis, prototyping, then launching, and then scalability. What is it that we need to look at to ensure that things are moving in the right direction? We are actually talking about the key things that are required. Any guesses on what would be the key aspect that we need to take the things forward? The first and foremost, I think most of you would have guessed it, right, is the user-centric design and market research. Now we are not just talking about just the research. We are talking about the user-centric designing as well. How does your solution look like? One is what are the features that you already looked at while you were doing market research? But what does the design look like? How does that happen? For example, Meta performs a lot of market research with a combination of quantitative user data and different platforms that they have. They capture a lot of data through Pixel. They have Metapixel, which tracks user behaviors. For example, a very simple example, everybody uses Instagram these days. What happens once you watch a specific video feed for, let's say, a couple of minutes? You start seeing similar kind of feeds in your videos in your feed, because that information, that feedback is being captured and is being taken forward. And then similarly, different studies are done. There are different surveys. If you observe, there are a lot of applications, platforms, and let's take example of Instagram again. They have, whenever they're sharing a new video or a new feed to you, there is a small button which says interested, not interested. That's a kind of an online survey that Meta is taking from you to understand your preferences. They're storing those preferences in their database so that they can create more personalized data for you. This is a way of market research. They're using their own platform to ensure that you use the platform even more by providing the right information. So that is one example. There could be different examples of market research. It could be through online surveys, it could be through studies, it could be through different market research platforms, trends, market trends, industry trends, that could help you to understand what kind of different analysis can be done. Then the next thing that key success factor is reliability, scalability, and security. There are different compliances that that we need to ensure that are taken care of. In terms of security, there are so many viruses, and I think there was also a session in the past about security, cyber security as well, where the security was talked about at length. So whenever we are trying to build a new solution, we are trying to see that technology is taken to the market. Scalability is something that needs to be taken care of. Reliability in terms of that the performance is consistent, is always people are able to utilize that service, and security, that the user data is secure, is built with trust, and there are no breaches, there are no vulnerabilities, the technology is used to the best of its potential in terms of these parameters. Then again, we're talking about user validation. Why are we coming back to the same topic of user validation again? Because it is very key that the product market fit should happen. There is a rate of more than 70%, and that is also a lower number that I'm talking about, that the startups do fail because the product market fit does not happen. The product is created, the technology is converted into a product, but if the market fit does not happen, the product will not move ahead, will not be accepted by the audience or the target market. So it is essential that there is a segment, a market segment identified. And these days, of course, with programs like Shark Tank India and other initiatives, a lot of people are aware about terminologies like TAM, SOM, SAM, which is actually target market, and what market actually, who will be the users of your product. When we talk about product market fit, it actually means, in a very simple terminology, who do you think will utilize your product as once the product is available in the market? Who will benefit from these products? Once you understand those group of people, then you can further divide them into smaller groups called as products, the audience segments or market segments, and then see which particular things work where. This helps a lot in product prototyping and also helps in engaging users in user testing. Everybody does not get the beta softwares, right, from Microsoft. Why only a few people get the beta licenses, not everybody? Microsoft can just send it to everyone, and everybody can start filling in the forms and can start putting up. A lot of automobile companies put up a program within their own organization that people can take the car for a few months as a beta program. They test drive that car in a regular commute, and they have to provide feedback. And those cars are tested, everything is done. But they want to understand how would the user feel when they're driving that car. So I'm trying to say that this happens in across industries. So it happens in most of the industries where the consumer is from general public, but then everybody does not get those beta versions. Only a few get, because they're selected through market segments and different market research and behavioral research. And then beta products are shared with those particular users. So hence market research becomes very important. Analysis becomes very important. Prototyping becomes very important. And then user validation becomes very important. What kind of feedback you're getting on the beta product, on your prototype? and how do you take it forward? While we did talk about the scalability, reliability, there are different regulatory compliances also that are very important. You'd have heard about Paytm case. There were wallet money, then they were not allowed to create a bank because it's not a bank. You cannot keep wallet money, it had to be UPI, because they were breaching the compliances. There were discrepancies in the compliances. Similarly, when we're talking about compliances in our regular terminology, there are a lot of, let's name a few simple ones: HIPAA compliance in US, GDPR compliance in European Union. Those are some things when we are actually dealing with somebody's, for example, European residents' personal data. Then we have to ensure that GDPR is complied by. And there are different levels of compliances as well in GDPR also. So we need to see that we are actually working within the boundary set by the regulatory bodies. That is also very important. So with that, we saw key aspects or key things that are required for success. Now we will talk about what is it that people look at when we are talking about real world readiness. And now we are not talking about real world readiness for a product. We have now moved to real world readiness as an individual, as a me. How would I be able to do a lot of things, or I will be able to, map things together? What is it that I need to be able to ensure that I am ready for the outside world, outside the academic world, and be able to fit into, as we say, the corporate world? Even if we are starting our own startup, or even if we are working in a job, we need to ensure that we are delivering a viable product, right? What does it take for us to be there? Technical proficiency. So we are here in an esteemed course in an esteemed university to gain that technical proficiency. So definitely that is needed. Now, when we talk about problem solving ability, that actually maps back to understanding the complex problem, understanding the actual underlying problem, and then dividing it into smaller pieces and being able to relate to the real world again. I'm much emphasizing on the real world, because at the end, we want our product or our solution or service to be used by humans like us. We're solving it for somebody, right? Team and communication. It is so important. And I know everybody would vouch for it, that working as a team rather than working as an individual always has more benefit. Talking to different stakeholders. Now, stakeholders could be your clients, stakeholders could be your users. So getting feedback, incorporating communication does not only mean verbal communication. Communication also means that, are you able to understand what feedback is being provided in a written format, or how the behavior of the industry is changing? That is also important. And how do you adapt, and how do you understand the business context? Are you able to map the problem to the business and be able to deliver to that? Further, we talk about a little bit more on the effective communication, which I feel that is very, very much important in terms of clear idea articulation, comprehensive documentation, and also looking at the project presentations, how we are presenting our solution, how we are mapping it, and how we are actually delivering our prototypes or initial studies as well. With that, goes on to most of the topics that we had to cover, with the last conclusion. And here in the conclusion, I would like to take a reference from Kolb's experiential learning law, which is actually a relation between academic learning and real world work. So it talks about 4 stages. The first stage is when there is a concrete experience, that somebody experiences something. That is, when you experience some problem, then you reflect or observe exactly what happened. For example, in the case of Practo, one of the founders, he observed, he had an experience that he was not getting enough medical support. He observed that problem, what actually happened, what was the past. He abstractly conceptualized it, that how things can be worked in a better way. And then he took it to an active experimentation. That is, what if we create an online platform where the online consultation can happen? This is a cyclic process which actually talks about the two: reflective observation and abstract conceptualization are pretty much on the academic side of things, on learning side of things, and concrete experience and experimentation is more on the real world side of things, when there is a lot of doing that happens. So it is an amalgamation of both, which talks about that both are needed to solve a problem. While we talk about marketplace a lot, that does not mean academics is not important. Academics as well as mapping it to real world go hand in hand to be able to solve any problem that the world is facing, and then taking it to the solution. With that, I'd like to conclude the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the enlightening deliberation. I am sure this presentation has enlightened the participants about the real scenario and how the gap between innovation and, I would say, the marketplace can be actually overcome. There are certain questions by the participants, which I would now like to take up with your permission, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, first question that we have, even with a patent, generally inventors and startups often struggle to secure the significant initial investment that is needed to develop and launch a product in India. And how can this difficulty in finding the proper investor or the licenses be overcome? Like any one-stop solution where we can get all such details?
So there is a website of Startup India that talks about a lot of details. There are various startup organizations as well. I'm associated with one as well. But there are a lot of startup associations where they actually get the pre-seed funding as well, as in when you have the patent and when you have a concept, and it is still to be converted. But more adoption or more acceptance is where there is something that the investors also have seen, right? Where they see a product, or where they actually see while I'm talking about market fit, where they actually see that need. So if you are able to map your paper or your patent with the actual need, that is when the acceptance is more in terms of the investors.
Absolutely, rightly said, ma'am.
But yes, there is a site, Startup India, where there is a lot of information on initiatives, and there is a lot of information on what all different policies and support that the government provides, if somebody wants to look at and convert their patent into a product.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ma'am, next question I have. The market of innovations is highly competitive, like inventors, and especially academic or individual inventors. They may risk having their market niche captured by competitors in the form of patent copying or trolls or like wrong investors. So how to avoid or overcome this situation? How can invention be turned into individual advantage with complete security?
So usually when you have identified a technology solution, patenting it means that nobody will be able to copy it. And you have to have a differentiative way forward. For example, it is organizations like Meta do tie up with a lot of startups to create small features, components that they use in their, they don't take over those organizations. They use them as their development hand, where they tell them some of the research and ask them to develop features and functionalities for them, or utilize what they have developed in their product. They buy it from them, or they so that is also a way forward to take care of. And currently the way the ecosystem is moving in India, there is a lot of traction, lot of policies being created on securing the startups, on securing that their interest. Even as I mentioned earlier, there was a in the budget also, tax 3 years the startups would not be taxed. So that is one of the greatest moves. But yes, when we are talking about investors, ensure that you're getting investments from the right platforms, from a registered platform, not from any other platform, so that you know where you're getting investments from. Also, sorry, ma'am, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I was just adding that a lot of platforms also provide different services to the startups. For example, they will provide different licensing for Google accounts, for Microsoft accounts, or they will provide some financial helps. When I say financial, not in terms of just money, but also in terms of how do you actually look at your balance sheets. Do you need some support in that? Those kind of things are also done. So now the ecosystem has moved towards supporting startups quite a lot.
Absolutely, ma'am. Very rightly said. Ma'am, one last question. What suggestion would you give to align academic research to industry needs?
So whenever we are doing any academic research, and this is my opinion, okay, that whenever we're doing an academic research, again, we need to see what is the market trend in that particular industry. If you're talking about automobiles, right, Maruti still is the highest selling car. They might not have the best features, they might not have but we need to understand why Maruti is the highest selling car. 85% of their revenue comes from rural India. So that is why they have captured the market. So when we are doing a research, and then if you want to take it back to the world, it has to be looked at in a way that, yes, it maps. Yes, somebody said cost for Maruti. Yes, cost is one of the factors, but these days there are a lot of people who are ready to pay the price if they are getting the right features.
Absolutely. Very rightly said, ma'am. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I thank you once again for the wonderful session. But not before we thank you with a small memento and a certificate. So I will now request Huda sir to kindly present ma'am with a certificate and e-memento as a token of remembrance for this wonderful session today. Sir.
Thank you so much, Malshri. Superb session in a very, very simplified terms. I always say that making something simple is the most difficult task on this earth. You have delivered it in the most simplified manner. A topic which is very, very difficult, complex, and rather undiscovered, that how to find investors, how to see that the idea or maybe a patent or maybe a research paper which I have can be converted into a such product or service which must have a market significance and commercial value attached to that. Thank you so much. As I said in beginning itself, that we have switched to complete online as far as this webinar session is concerned. So our interaction, our session, presentation, welcoming with a bouquet, my ehsasat, jazbat, this certificate and memento, everything is online. And thereby we are increasing sustainability. Certificate and the memento, please show memento as well.
Yes, sir.
These are not for the purpose of certification, rather for the purpose of remembrance that you have been part of this lovely session, enlightening all of us. I also got benefited. I attended your entire session. That how and in which way you can move forward for commercializing or for transferring our technology. Important is first transfer. Then people will see worth in it, and then people will start generating its commercial value. So thank you so much. As and when you will see this, you will also remember that you have been part of this lovely session which enlightened all of us. Thank you so much. You are free. You may be here. You may log out. And dear participants, this meeting room, WebEx meeting room, is now converted to a facilitation desk for the purpose of resolving your queries for getting certificates. My team member, Dr. Ritika, Deputy Director of the Institute, along with the team members, her team members, shall be looking into your problem if you are not getting certificate. Please understand, if you fill up the feedback form, then only you will be in a position